From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
So a very controversial ceasefire deal announced between Israel and Hamas, including, blessedly, hostage exchange, hostage freedom, but actually an exchange with Palestinian prisoners coming out of Israel. But it's very controversial. I myself didn't really feel very good about it and said so on the air. David Harsanyi, Washington Examiner senior writer, nationally syndicated columnist, National Review, New York Sun. He also expressed a good deal of skepticism. David's most recent book is called The Rise of BlueAnon, how the Democrats became a party of conspiracy theorists. Boy, that's great. David, I'm looking at your piece. I saw it in the Sun. Israel, in ceasefire with Hamas, makes a deal with the devil. And I got to tell you, you probably know more about foreign policy than I do, but I expressed my own misgivings about it on the TV show. Maybe Israel will come back in 6 weeks and finish the job, but right now, Mr. Trump notwithstanding, I don't see why this is a great deal.
Yeah, there is no great deal to be made, though, and I think, it's easy to say, well, it's not easy, but we often say, we point out rationally the downsides of making deals with nihilists and people who will be now incentivized to take more terror hostages. But there's also tremendous pressure in Israel, obviously, for moral reasons that, the calculations become complicated. You have to, if you can bring back a child, if you can bring back a young woman who's been taken and has gone through horrific things probably, a society, a moral society has to maybe do it. So it's a very difficult decision to make. There's rational elements to it that make it sounds like you and I feel like it's a bad deal, but there are moral aspects to it and dimensions to it that make it almost something that's very difficult to turn away from.
Well, I think, look, people have suffered enormously, the families and so forth, over the hostage story. It's a horrible story, horrible. And so many of them apparently have been killed. I mean, nobody knows what the right count is. Nobody really knows who, when, where. But the part that troubled me so much was reading through it is that gradually during this 6-week ceasefire, Israel withdraws from Gaza, and at the end of it, Israel's out of Gaza. And I look at that and say, well, that means Hamas is still in Gaza. As much as Hamas has been slaughtered, I mean, Israel's done a good job. You read in news articles, the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere, Sinwar's brother is now the leader, and they're recruiting and they're picking up people. And the other thing is, David, the release of 1,000 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. I mean, who are these people? Aren't they going to, become anti-Israel Hamas type recruits?
Sure, they're terrible people. Many of them are really the worst kind of people you could imagine. The ceasefire itself, we should say things are different. Like you say, they're weakened, but more than being weakened, Iran is weakened. Hezbollah is destroyed. Assad is in Russia. A lot of things have happened in the last, 18 months or whatever it is, and good things, I think, for Israel. So that's something to be remembered. Israel stays on the border between Gaza and Egypt, which is a sieve where most of the weaponry probably comes through. So the Hamas that arises there is not the same thing. Second, they don't care about ceasefires. There was a ceasefire on October 6th, 2023. They break it all the time, and I at least think Israel can always go back if it wants to. Now, obviously, they will retrench, and that will cost lives, and that's not a good thing. So, it's hard to say it's a good deal, but I don't think it means that Qatar or the UN or other pro-Hamas, I would say, entities are going to be in there trying to rebuild Gaza. That seems like very far-fetched to me at this point.
So that might not be so bad. I mean, you write that it's almost surely the case that the incoming Trump administration frightened Hamas. I agree with that 100%. Not long ago, the future and past president promised there would be hell to pay. Of course, that's correct. That's what drove this thing. Trouble is, it kind of was a Biden deal that he pushed over the finish line. Then you go on to say, one hopes that after hostages are brought to safety, the IDF re-invades after 6 weeks, and decimates the remnants of Hamas or the Islamic Jihad. Okay, I hope so too. That's the best. That's like putting the best spin on this thing. You heard Pete Hegseth say every Hamas should be destroyed. Mike Wirth said the same thing. The Nationals. Mario Rubio said basically the same thing. I mean, there's no question the new administration's view is to destroy Hamas, but that view is interesting. But how does that jive with what they've done here with this ceasefire agreement?
Well, it's easy to say and it's harder to do, but it doesn't jive with it. It's the answer, I guess.
Yeah.
But the people, the Palestinians who live in Gaza, they elected Hamas. I mean, people don't like to say it this way, but I mean, they're supportive of Hamas. They're when Fatah was there, when the PLO was there, they threw them off roofs, they chased them away. The idea that Fatah can come in there and then build this, stable place that won't be antagonistic towards Israel is probably, a wish casting. So Israel, I think, is going to have to go back in there. I think Netanyahu said as much. So I just feel like the Israelis themselves, the populace, the people who vote, have no patience anymore for having Hamas operating on their border. So that's why I think in the long run they'll probably have to go back. There is no good answer for any of this, by the way. I mean, there just is no good answer right now until the Palestinian people accept Israel's existence and say to themselves, we can build a nation here. We can build our own, small, autonomous nation here that's peaceful with neighbors. But it doesn't seem like we're there yet, and we might not be there for a very long time. So there are no good answers. That's really what I tried to convey in the column.
Mm-hmm. David Harsanyi, is this the Philadelphia corridor that separates Egypt from the southern part of Gaza? Are the Israeli troops, after 6 weeks, do they remain there, or do they have to pull out of that too?
I believe from what I saw, they remain there. I think they do remain there. And that was a sticking point. But they need to remain there. That's where a lot of the trouble happens. That's where the missile pieces come in. And if they can control that border, they can control what comes in and out of Gaza. So that's vitally important, I think. And I think that also intimates that they're not really going anywhere in the short term, at least.
Well, I hope that's right, actually.
Yeah.
And, let me ask you this. Regarding Iran, the sponsor of Hamas, Hezbollah, etc., do you think there's going to be, I hate to use the word, but, American-sponsored hit on Iran, or Israel hits on Iran, takes out their nuclear facilities or damages them or something? I mean, I'm sure Mr. Trump will reinstall the very, very tough sanctions on Iran. What Biden's done is scandalous. But you think there's something cooking here about a strike on the nuclear facilities?
I feel like the Biden administration held Israel back after the attack by Iran. But I think Israel showed them that their air defenses really mean nothing and they can get behind them rather easily. I think they paralyzed their energy sector, things like that. But maybe it's going to be, and this, I'm not making a prediction really, but maybe there's going to be a Nixon goes to China moment. Maybe Iran will say this isn't worth it. We spent years setting up all these proxies and they were destroyed. Why are we? I mean, obviously there are ideologues there and theocrats, so it's perhaps not, but maybe because of the stifling, sanctions and their economy is in terrible shape anyway. And there's, maybe they make a deal with Trump. I mean, maybe they make a deal. Maybe they shut down their nuclear plants. And that's a possibility as well. Strength matters and power matters in the Middle East. That's why Obama and Biden failed so often. But Trump exudes American power in a way that I don't think those do. Not that he is an adventurer abroad or anything like that. But I think there's a chance for a deal. Who knows? I mean, I don't think that we should dismiss that idea.
And last one, just a few seconds left. Maybe Steve Witkoff and Trump and the others, Governor Huckabee, maybe they're cooking something up with the Saudis to finally join the Abraham Accords.
I think that seems to be happening for sure. That's something I think would happen before the Iranian deal, and obviously that would be momentous. So they were on the path, I think, before October 7th, probably in that direction anyway. So I think that is something that's going to happen. The only thing that bothers me about Witkoff is his kind words about the Qatari regime there, which also funded Hamas, which gave safe space to Hamas. That is a little bit worrisome, but sometimes you have to deal with bad people to get good things done.
Yeah, that's it. The Qataris, this mysterious, dark area. People give them way too much. They're not our great friends at all.
Right.
And they're no friends of freedom. Anyway, David Harsanyi, thank you ever so much, Washington Examiner. And I'll type the book again, the most recent book, The Rise of BlueAnon, How the Democrats Became a Party of Conspiracy Theorists, National Review, and other syndicated areas. Thank you, David. Appreciate it very much. Folks, we'll take a quick break. On the other side of the break, my pal David Webb's coming on. Talk a little bit about TikTok. Oh, my God, TikTok. And then the ERA. Holy cow. Be right back.
Larry Kudlow.
Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.